You're at a funeral. Your throat tightens, your vision goes blurry, and warm water spills down your face in front of everyone. Now strip all of that away. Remove the black clothes, remove the chapel, remove the very idea of a funeral. Put yourself on a windswept plain in East Africa 200,000 years ago, standing over the body of someone you loved. And notice that the exact same thing happens. The eyes fill, the water falls. You are, at this moment, doing something no other animal on Earth does. Not a single one. Because here is the thing. Almost nobody stops to consider. Dogs whimper. Elephants grieve. Chimpanzees scream and mourn their dead. But not one of them cries the way you do. No other species on this planet leaks emotional tears from its eyes when it feels something. Only humans do that. So the question isn't really why do we cry? The question is why does grief, of all things, come pouring out of your face as salt water? What possible advantage could there be in a body that weeps? And the answer, it turns out, is buried deep in the lives of ancient humans. Let's start with the most common assumption, because it's the one you've probably always believed. Crying is just an overflow. Emotions get too big, the pressure builds, and tears are the steam valve releasing it. It feels obvious. It feels true. And it is almost completely wrong. Charles Darwin himself wrestled with this exact problem, and he essentially gave up, concluding that tears were an accidental byproduct with no purpose at all. The most influential mind in the history of biology looked at your tears and shrugged. But modern researchers have found something Darwin missed entirely, and it starts with what emotional tears are actually made of. In the 1980s, a biochemist named William Frey did something almost no one had thought to do. He collected human tears and analyzed their chemistry, and he found that not all tears are the same. The tears that keep your eyes wet and the tears that flush out a chopped onion are chemically ordinary. But emotional tears, the ones you cry from grief or joy, are different. They carry a heavier load of stress hormones and proteins, including one linked directly to physical pain relief, which means when you cry from sadness, your body may literally be flushing chemicals out of itself. Your tears are not overflow, they are excretion. But chemistry is only half the story, and honestly the smaller half. Because if crying were just about draining stress out of your bloodstream, your body could do that quietly, internally, invisibly. Instead, it chose to route the signal straight to your face, to the most visible surface on your entire body, in a way everyone around you can instantly see. That is not a private cleanup process. That is a broadcast. And a broadcast only makes sense if there was someone there to receive it. So picture the ancient human group again. Small, tight-knit, utterly dependent on one another to survive the next winter. In that world, being seen mattered more than you can imagine. Here's what tears actually do to you in that moment. And it's the part that changes everything. When your eyes flood, your vision blurs. You cannot see clearly. You cannot aim, you cannot fight, you cannot flee with any accuracy. For a few seconds, you are functionally helpless. Now ask yourself why on earth evolution would build a distress signal that also blinds you at your most vulnerable. And the answer is the reveal. That helplessness is the message. A tear is an honest signal precisely because you cannot fake the vulnerability it forces on you. It says, without a single word, I am no threat to you, and I need you. Anthropologists call this an honest signal, and evolution loves them because they cannot be bluffed. A snarl can be faked. Puffed-up posturing can be faked. But a signal that physically disarms you carries a guarantee built into its very cost. And for a species like ours, that guarantee was priceless. Ancient humans did not survive because they were fast or strong or armored. They survived because they cooperated in groups so tightly bonded that an injury to one triggered care from the rest. Tears may have been one of the oldest tools for building that bond, a way of saying help me that was impossible to fake and impossible to ignore. And this is where it gets genuinely strange, because tears don't only appear in grief. You cry at weddings. You cry when you're reunited with someone at an airport. You cry when a stranger does something impossibly kind. Across nearly every culture ever studied, humans weep not just in pain but in overwhelming connection, in the exact moments when the bonds between people suddenly feel most real. That pattern is not random. It points at the same ancient function wearing a different mask. Tears show up whenever the social stakes spike, whenever it matters most that the people around you know exactly how much you feel. There's a deeper theory here too, and it connects tears to something biologists call self-domestication. Over the last few 100,000 years, we essentially bred ourselves for cooperation, favoring the gentler, the more trusting, the more socially tuned among us. We got softer faces, calmer temperaments, and a nervous system wired for togetherness. And tears fit that story perfectly. A weeping animal is an animal advertising trust, lowering its own defenses, betting that the group will respond with care instead of exploitation. In a species that survived by domesticating its own aggression, a face that cries may have been a face you could finally trust. So think about what that means the next time it happens to you. When your eyes sting in a dark cinema, or spill over at a song, or flood at a graveside, you are not malfunctioning. You are not being weak. You are running a program older than language, older than farming, older than any city that has ever stood. A program written by ancient humans who learned, over uncountable generations, that the ones who could show their pain honestly were the ones the group kept alive. Your tears are not a flaw in the design. They are the design. They are, quite literally, one of the reasons your ancestors were never alone. If you found yourself seeing your own tears a little differently just now, that's exactly what we do here at The First People. So subscribe and stick around, because the ancient humans still have plenty left to teach you. And tell me in the comments what part of your own body you want explained next. I'll see you in the following one.